it wasn't fabricated?
Because it's impossible.
How do you know that there were like a few dozen men with power, influence, and they said
Didn't
that,
we talk about this?
I know, but I want this to be on the show.
Oh, okay.
And anyone who spoke out against them, they just had them murdered.
Okay. Can I answer that?
Yes.
Okay, so the answer is very simple. Judaism is, I don't know if it's the only one, because I don't know every religion on the planet, but it's one of the only ones, let's say, that proselytizing is strictly forbidden. We don't accept converts.
Okay.
I mean, we do accept converts. We don't start looking, we don't recruit converts. We don't try to convince people to follow us, right? Wait.
Okay.
We push people away, right? So the idea that, oh, maybe Jews try to force the religion on anybody, it's not going to fly because it's strictly forbidden. So that would be a I'm going to get to your thing.
Okay. You know what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say here because I've already done this over some cheeseburgers. Okay, so delicious, by the way. Get more in the camera, okay? Because people want to see your face. Brings in ratings. Now,
thank you.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense to say that the same religion that strictly forbids forcing itself onto others would force it onto others by way of death. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. That's clearly not in our history, right? Because it's a stretch to say that, oh, it says don't do that, but we went ahead and did it anyways. Really? It doesn't make it. So what you could say is that's speaking about non-Jews, but people who were part of the tribe of Jews, if you will, right? We're part of how'd you call us?
Israeli?
You know, our tribe, our ethnicity, right? Yeah. When people who were in our ethnicity, we said, okay, you're going to follow all this stuff or you're going to die. We're not going to try to bring in any non-ethnic people and try to make them us. But people here all have to follow the line or they're going to get, smothered. And then we're going to tell this great big lie and we're going to pass it on to our kids, right? Is that what okay.
And by the way, we do kill non-Jews. If the non-Jew breaks the law in Eretz Yisrael, we have him executed.
Okay, but that's got nothing to do with this.
We do kill people.
Okay, but that's got nothing to do with this. Okay, now, he is pretty stoned. Okay. All right, so here's what's going on. Now, so what are we saying? Oh, now we have Jenna's in the room. Hey, Jenna, how's it going? And once again,
how come my people
never
come?
How what?
My people never come.
Now we've had 8 people. Blev is gone, so he's gone. So now we have 7 people and 6 are female. 6 out of 7 are female. All right, so here's what's going on. Now, right, why can't it be that way? It's very simple. What was my answer the other night? Say it. I'll let you say it.
Doesn't make, I don't know. I don't remember.
You don't remember my answer?
I don't remember. That's why I'm asking you now, and I want to be on. I want to be on camera too.
Okay.
Because people need to hear this.
Okay. How come nobody has that history? How come there's no history?
How do you know they just didn't bury all of it?
They didn't bury all of it. So here's what so according to your supposition or your thesis, your theory or whatever, your hypothesis, is that a few Jewish guys got together.
Yeah.
They wrote up this BS. They said everybody who's Jewish either has to buy into this, or we're going to kill them and we're just going to sell the rest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then here's my question. I'll ask you some very simple questions. I'm going to ask you. I'm not. Okay. First one is how come there's no history of this? How come nobody ever?
All of it.
They buried all the history.
Second
question is right. If these guys were all obsessed with truth, right, and they wrote these books and they said everything in here is 100% true, and if one thing is false, then the whole thing is false. Why would they start off with such a huge lie? Why would they make up? Why would they make up the whole Mount Sinai story when clearly they hadn't been there, right?
Yeah.
When have you learned Gemara? Have you not? You've learned Talmud, and these guys are totally OCD to the max, where they go on for pages and pages about the most smallest minutia details, like who cares, and they want to get it right, okay? And they're obsessed with truth, and if somebody doesn't agree with them when they believe that this is 100% true, they will argue until the other one says, I can't take it anymore, right? And they argue for pages and pages. And we all have to suffer through their arguments because both sides say, no, it's this way, this is how we heard it, and this is how the tradition has always been. Why would people who are so obsessed with truth and claim that everything in Torah must be 110% true, airtight, start off with such a huge lie. I don't buy that.
So they can have this little comfy lifestyle and just like lord over people and like tax people and like have unprotected sex. And like be all holy and shit, like say like, oh, we're better than non-Jews because we keep kosher and because we keep Shabbos, and is that
okay?
You know where I'm coming from?
No, I don't. Okay. So that's number one. And here's my other point. Are you ready? There are things in the Torah that are written. Okay, because remember, the Torah operates on the premise that every word of Judaism is 100% true, and if you find one word that's not true, toss the whole thing out. It's all clearly written by men. You don't have to follow it, and you can go and have homosexual sex or bang shiksas or unprotected. You love that word,
and not feel guilty
and
afterwards.
we can go get we can go out and get
McDonald's.
Oh, I'd get steak lovers pizza. That'd be my first one. Okay.
McDonald's.
All right. Here's the thing. The Gemara, the Talmud. Have you heard of the Talmud?
I'm familiar with it.
The Talmud says in Chulin, I forget the dot, but it says there's a Gemara in Chulin, okay? And it says that there are proofs in the written Torah that the Torah must be from God, and it cannot have been written by man.
Like what?
I'll give you two, right off the bat. Torah says what are the signs that require if you have a mammal on the planet, right? And you want to eat it, what is the requirement so that you can eat it?
Split hoods.
Split hoods? Split hoods and chooses cud, right? So like if a cow or a sheep or something, they chew their cud, right? They ruminate or whatever they call it. And then they split their hooves, do they not?
Yes.
And if it doesn't split its hooves and it doesn't chew its cud, you can't eat it, right? So we can't eat dogs or whatever, right? Well, what if it has one sign but not the other? So the Torah says, no, you can't eat those either. Wait a second. If it has one and not the other, it can't, right? So the Torah says, you know what? There's only ever going to be 4 animals that have those signs. When it comes to the animal that splits its hooves and doesn't chew its cud, the Torah says there will only ever be one animal that meets that requirement. That's the pig. So let's just focus on the pig for right now. The pig, says the Gemara, says the Talmud says, is your proof that the Torah is from God.
Why?
Because if it was written by man, you got 2 problems. It defies all common sense to think that a man would write that. Because if you're working on the premise, you're a guy living 3,000 years ago, and you're working on the premise that everything in this Torah, everything that we claim must be true. If you find one word that's false, you can dismiss it and we lose all of our power. You would never take a chance like that and say that there's only ever going to be one animal. Because you're sitting in the desert and you don't know what goes on in Madagascar and Tanzania and Tasmania and Australia and America. And they were already developing zoos in Egypt at that time, and people were bringing in animals from other countries. It could easily be that there's a second animal besides a pig that somebody's going to bring, and it splits its hooves, it doesn't chew its cud, you're wrong, your entire Torah is wrong, and shut up!
Okay,
so wait, they would never, let me just make the whole point. They would never risk such a thing. So if it was written by man, they wouldn't be so stupid. They wouldn't put it out there that there's room so easily to refute everything. Okay? Because remember, Torah works on the premise. If you wipe out one word of it, then you can wipe out all of it. Okay? So they wouldn't do that. Now, but let's say like they did do that. Let's say that they were stupid enough to do that. Well, I have a question for you then. Why are they still right? How the hell did a bunch of guys sitting in the desert 2,000, 3,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, whenever the Bible critics claim it was written by men, how did they know that 3,000 years later that we would never find anything? How are they right? Because thousands of animal species have been discovered in the last couple of thousand years. Thousands of new species are discovered all the time. They go to places that nobody's ever heard of before. They go to the backwoods of Australia. Nobody's ever been in there. They go to Louisiana. They go to all these crazy places, right? And they find animals that nobody's ever seen before. How come they've never found a second animal that's just like the pig? There's never been one. So either they're incredibly lucky that defies all logic, right? They took a chance which they never would have taken a chance on saying, or it's much more easy to believe. It makes much more sense to say that the one who gave the Torah is the same one who created the animals. That's easy to understand. God says, look, here's the only animal that's ever going to have these qualifications is the pig. That's it. He writes it. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense is to say that guys sitting in the desert would take such a huge chance like that and that they would be right. If it was not written by God, and if it was only written by men, and they got it right, you know what I say? I say those guys know a shitload more than people give them credit for. That's what I say. I say, you know what? That's pretty fucking good. That they could sit there 3,000 years ago, sitting in a room, right? No internet access, no cable, no phones, and they knew everything about the planet, how it would be for the next 3,000 years. I think that's pretty damn good.
Okay, well,
Okay,
you've
go ahead.
proven the validity of the written Torah. That's all well and good.
Okay.
But, the rabbis at my college say that the oral Torah is fabricated and made by man.
Oh, God.
How do you not know that, when it says, you shall defend this charge, some group of evil rabbis just said, okay, this is where it means that, this means that, we can say wherever we want and it becomes the law. How do you know they just didn't, think that up in their, the oral Torah just thought up in their head?
They want a bunch of apikourses. First of all, that's a stupid argument because we all know that it's the written Torah. The written Torah talks about the oral Torah, so we know that the oral Torah existed from the time that if you believe that the written Torah is from God, then you must believe that the oral Torah is from God too. Here's how it works. In the written Torah, it says you shall, when it talks about slaughtering animals, right, and giving them up as offerings, it says, do it in the way that I showed you. Kill them, slaughter the animal in the way that I showed you. Nowhere in the entire Bible are you going to see God explain how he showed us to slaughter animals. It never explains. We don't know how to slaughter animals. If somebody can find to me the verse that says how to slaughter animals, I'll shut up. But there is no such verse. There is a verse that says, slaughter them the way that I've shown you. So what does that mean? That means that he's shown us, not in the written Torah. There's no verse that says it, and that proves that he's talking to us outside of the written Torah. Now, if you say, oh, man wrote the written Torah, you're right. God didn't physically write it down. Somebody else actually, he what's the word? Dictated. He dictates it, right? So if you think that the one who wrote it down put that in there, here's what it comes down to. You either throw out the entire written and oral, or you accept both. There's really no middle ground. If you don't trust that the words of the written Torah are true, then they're done, right? If you don't trust that the oral Torah is true, then you don't believe that the written Torah is true because the written Torah talks about the oral Torah. Okay, now you can talk.
Well, how do you not know that some rabbi made up kosher slaughtering, and so that way, because this guy